or something.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I think it's recording. I hope. Okay, so I don't want to be like the leader unless I don't want to feel like I'm over.
No, please
like
be the leader.
Okay. I was just feel like sometimes in groups everyone's kind of like, do you want to? So, okay. The first thing she talked about in her video was she said she went by, am I in the right one? Nope, I'm in, hold on. I have the wrong study guide up. She said paradigms. She said those are, you know how last, and correct me if I'm wrong, Erica, because you watched this totally. But she said the paradigms, last test we went over the different paradigms. This one we're going over interpretive paradigms. So that's like symbolic interactionism. And she talked about the looking glass. So there's like a few things that we need to know about it. And so like how it says in the exam study guide, Melanie, that you said you had, symbolic interaction PowerPoint. She said there's C part on roles. And she went over the roles that we need to know, which was like, she said looking, or from that PowerPoint, there's like role taking, which means we put ourselves in the role of another person. So like we take on that role. Role making is like defining our roles to other people. If you watch a video, she'll go through and say this all.
Is this the symbolic interaction PowerPoint?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what she said. It's in PowerPoint lesson 7. If you go to the resources.
I think I have it here.
She said like role clarity means like how clearly we understand our expectation of our roles. Role ambiguity means when we're confused about certain things or like what's expected of us. A role strain is like difficulty performing our role because we have so many other demands that we don't have enough resources to like fulfill those roles. And she said a lot of it comes from like role conflict. So like when you have multiple roles, but each of them have like different expectations, it can cause a role strain, which is you can't perform that role. She said role consensus and disconsensus, I think that's what she said, is the agreement of, I didn't really understand this as much. I don't know if you guys know, Erica, if you knew. It's the agreement of what constitutes appropriate behavior for the role.
Yeah, she talked about like the consensus is like agreement of what constitute as appropriate behavior. And then dissensus is like when you disagree that it's appropriate behavior, I think.
So, yeah, I'm trying to like think of what an example would be of that. Like,
I know I took notes on that and I can't find them. Yeah.
I know when she was going over it, I was like, I don't know if I know what that is. Agreement of what?
Okay, so what's your question? I found my roll notes.
I guess, I don't know if you, Susan or Melanie, if you know how you would explain role consensus a little bit better.
Okay, so I have agreement or disagreement on what constitutes appropriate behavior for a role. Example, does everyone agree with your secretarial job? Like what if you're secretary, everybody needs to agree on what your role is for that job. I guess that's what role consensus means.
Okay. Oh, everybody on the outside needs to agree, like that what you do is appropriate behavior for that role or whatnot. Okay. Okay, and then she talked about reciprocal roles, which is like the give and take roles. So the roles that are opposite but complement one another and work together. So like a father and a mother, they're completely opposite roles, but they complement each other.
That's mutual give and take.
Yes. Right?
Yeah. The example I have written down for that one is a husband and a wife decide who focuses on the kids and who focuses on the finances. So that's what I wrote.
That's perfect. Yeah, I like the mutual give and take.
Yeah.
Talked about self-role congruence and incongruence. So congruent with our identity or incongruent, doesn't fit in with our identity. You think that is more of like a, you're trying to be someone you're not? Like incongruence, like you don't fit in with who you're identifying yourself with?
The example on that one, I have a little note. It says a teen, does she see herself as a parent? So you have a teen mother who wants to be a teenager, but she's a mother at the same time. But she wants to be a teenager, even though she's supposed to be the mother.
Right. Oh, okay. Let me write this real quick.
So it says, yeah, incongruence, the role is not congruent with one's identity. So.
Oops, did you hear me? She kind of just whipped through these really fast, but I was like, some of them I was like, I think I need an example because
that's not clicking.
There's a lot of words going through my brain right now. Okay, self-fulfilling prophecy. So pretty much pressure to conform to others' expectations of us. So only doing things because we're trying to fulfill what others expect us to do. But before that, she also went over the looking glass. So like the idea that we think of how we look to others, we make judgments on how others are reacting to us. And she said, like, if we give a speech and people start to laugh, either they think I'm funny or they think I'm like super awkward. And the way that we perceive those judgments is how we look at ourselves. So if we're like, oh wait, they're laughing at me because I'm super awkward. Oh my gosh, I must be awkward. I'm really uncomfortable. Or wow, they're laughing at me because I'm funny. Oh, I'm such a funny person. I guess that's the idea. The difference between I and me. So this is kind of confused. I think this is a little bit confusing to me until she gave an example. But she just said, and you all probably know way better than I do, but she said like the I is the immediate reaction to the situation and doesn't take in social context of where we are. The me considers what might be socially appropriate. So like at a funeral, someone tells a joke, you might want to laugh, which is the I reaction, but the me recognizes the context and realizes that's not okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of right. This was what, was this Brother Gardner's?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so he said the I is the impulsive. So it's just like what a little kid would do, you know what I mean? Like, they just say whatever they, and then the me is the thinking part where you actually think through the process before you know, oh, I'm going to spit it out. So that's what
me thinks through. Okay. Okay. So that was it. And then the next thing she went over was the concept. So it's still another paradigm. It's the concepts of structural functionalism. And she just went over like a few definitions. I think, I don't know, Erica, correct me if I'm wrong. Is that, she kind of said that's like the only thing we really need to know, right? More or less.
I think that's all that she went over for like the concepts.
Uh-huh.
Because she went over, or some of the things that she went over is like structure.
Yeah.
And that's just like how the family is composed, like the mom and the dad and the children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And go over those 5 patterns on structured functionalism theory, you know, the 5 patterns, the ascription and achievement / did she go over those?
Mm-mm.
Okay, because those are a little
She literally, like Erica was saying, she just went over like definitions. So she went over structure, which is what Erica just mentioned. She went over function, which is the structure exists because it meets the function. So really like families exist because they are there to procreate and socialize. Like that's the function they're supposed to perform. She went over the definition instrumental, which, you know, the tasks need to be performed to meet physical needs of the family. So like earning income, providing clothing, which is typically done by male or the father. She went over expressive, which is psychological tasks like love, support, a lot of warmth, which is typically done by the mother. And then conformity, which was when someone conforms to their role because society expects it of them. So the father is the breadwinner, not because
Sorry.
you know, he wants to be, but because it's what society has set out for him to be. And then she said innovation, which is the person achieves a socially acceptable goal in not an acceptable way. So for example, high school students have all the pressure to achieve good grades and go to college and, you know, achieve really high goals. And in order to meet those standards, they do things like take Ritalin or some form of cheating, which is bad. So they're still trying to reach that socially acceptable goal, but they're not doing it in a socially acceptable way. That's literally the only thing she went over on structural functionalism.
Okay.
And if I'm going too fast, I'm so sorry. She literally, I think I wrote word for word almost what she said on her video.
Nothing here.
That's
It
a
was
long
a
day,
lot.
I did that last test and it helped me. I know. It helped me so much though. I did it last test and because I filled out the other one beforehand and I was kind of just like, wow, I did so much work, but I don't know if I understand, like really understand. Yeah. And then she did her video and I was like, whoa. Like it makes much more sense when I didn't have to like read the answers myself, but when someone can explain it to me.
Yeah, it's helpful.
Yeah. All right, so you're having a little bit of trouble. Is everything good, Susan? Can you hear? Uh-oh, we can't hear you, but if you can hear us, I'm happy. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear her?
No.
Oh,
It looks like you have your mute on. The picture that's showing us your face has a little microphone symbol on it. So is your microphone mute?
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry I saw you having like, I would like look over to the picture and then I was like, oh no, I don't know if it's working.
Well, it's coming over my phone and I can't figure out how to get the external speaker on. So I put a pair of headsets on. So I think you can hear me now.
Yeah. This is perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so the last thing that she went over was the systems theory, which was Brother Gardner's lectures. And she just kind of did the same thing, kind of like definitions of things we need to know.
Which ones did she?
She talked about homeostasis, which was, you know, the family status quo, like where they are and how comfortable, you know, where their comfortable level is. So it could be healthy, it could be unhealthy. So just because they're comfortable doesn't mean it's like a healthy place for them to be. Sometimes it could be unhealthy for them. Then she talked about positive and negative feedback loops. And the positive feedback loop is that it pushes through change. So it tries to make the family do something different than it usually does. Doesn't mean that it's good or bad. Just means that it pushes through that change. And the negative feedback, again, she mentioned that it wasn't like good or bad, but it means that it keeps things the same. So families need both positive and negative feedback loops, she said. It's not good for someone to constantly be changing, but it's not good for a family just to never change, you know, to just keep things the same. So you need that balance. But she really emphasized, I felt like, and Brother Gardner really emphasized in his video, that it doesn't mean bad or good. Right. You know,
I always thought they had to like challenge the system, search for something new, some new pattern.
Yeah. I think that describes it a little bit better, because my mind kind of gets like messed up with the positive and negative because I start to associate it with bad and good. But I like that challenge.
You guys heard the example they gave of the cell phone in the family? I liked that one. Did you hear that one?
Remind me.
No.
So I think it was on Brother Gardner's video, but I can't remember. But they said, yeah. So there was a girl who was like 14 and her mom wasn't picking her up at school, and she wasn't allowed to have a phone until she was 16. But because she couldn't communicate with her mother, they changed the rule to be, you know, that she could have a cell phone because it was needed. So I was like, oh, okay. So positive feedback loop.
Right. No, I thought that was a good example too. That even though it was like a set rule, and probably the other kids had that, but because it wasn't working out, they changed that. And so, okay, she talked about morphogenesis. I might be saying that wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't understand these next few things, and Erica, you can correct me. She talked about the first and second order change in morphogenesis.
Okay. I know about that.
Oh, okay. So what she said was morphogenesis is like big change in the family, something that happens after a second order change. And so then I was like, wait, what's a second order change? I totally forgot.
Did you guys listen to Brother Gardner's lecture on that? Just this week, it was assigned in the overview under, what's it called? You know, where the readings usually are at the very bottom after you take your quiz. And then there's like a lecture. It's in there, and he really spends some time on the first order change and the second order change. I took a ton of notes.
I definitely watched it, but I can't say I remembered. Oh, no.
Okay, so it says the first order change is minor structural change among system components. Individuals changing their behaviors, but the system remains essentially the same. So they use an example of like an alcoholic father who goes to rehab, but he doesn't really want to make the changes. So he changes temporarily, but then when he comes home, he knows he's going to go back to drinking. So that's a first order change.
Okay.
And a second order change would be, says a major change in which the system is altered. And then he uses the example of the house. You know, if you paint new paint on the house, then that's a first order, but you didn't change the structure of the house at all. So that's kind of what it means there. And the alcoholic example is that the guy goes to, alcoholic goes to the 12 steps, really wants to make a change and commits to doing it, and there's actually structural change. So that's the difference between the first order change and the second order change.
Okay, so she said that morphogenesis happens after the second change.
Yes.
And that they tend to find a new homeostasis.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe my brain's just making it work. Kind of that they morph themselves like into that new change or that new dramatic change. Is that kind of the idea of it?
And I think it's over time they adapt to the changing needs of the family. And they have to grow systematically.
Yeah, so for morphogenesis, I just have, it's a transformation process that changes the form or shape of the family system. So the same things.
You said, yeah.
Yeah.
And then for did she talk about morphostasis at all?
Oh.
Okay. That one just says it's a process used to prevent the form or shape of a family system from being altered. So that sounds like a negative feedback loop where they want everything to stay the same.
Right.
Just maintain what you have.
Okay, that was perfect. Thank you, guys. So she talks about equal finality. And I briefly remember a little bit about this, but she mentioned that it doesn't matter where we enter the sequence, you are going to expect change. I don't know if anyone has any more insight on what that means.
I had the word, whatever, is equal finality, means equal finishing points. So the same outcome may be due to many different causes. And then that's where he drew the little, I draw everything that they draw in there. I got my little map. So it talks about like a child is depressed, or no, when the mom is depressed. You remember that little thing when the mom is depressed and then the kids have behavior problems, that gets mad. And so that's equal finality. You have the equal finishing point, but I'm not sure how that all.
Oh, that makes sense. So she pretty much, now it's making sense. So it's like, it doesn't matter where anyone enters within that sequence model, they're all going to end up the same place. Like they all have to expect change because they're all going to end up at that same exact ending. Erica, do you know? I don't know.
What I have here is that we have equifinality through like inputs and outputs and feedback loops in the family. And it talks about, I think it talks somewhere about a person named John. or something where he had to go to therapy and like he was talking like super loud to the therapist. But then they brought in the whole family so that he can know why he was talking so loud. And they used he ended, or like they were all chaotic and everything. And then the therapist kind of knew why he was acting so loud. And so then they decided to use a stick in order to like provide change, I guess.
And you have that
So that one,
personality?
yeah. I think so. I'm not sure if that's where he talked about it, but I think that's one
Okay.
where, but yeah.
I wrote in the questions board if someone could explain just a little bit more in depth what they thought equal finality was. So I'm going to be waiting for that also. That was just a little bit confusing to me.
And then once you're done going over what she had to say, or maybe you'll tell me, did she have anything about the triangulation relationship between God? Okay, because I'm confused on this. I need help on that.
Well, okay, that's in two things. So first she talked about the identified patient, but she didn't actually. It's on our study guide, and then she totally skipped over it.
Oh no.
But wasn't that like the cause of a lot of this? Wasn't that like person that was like focused on, or the cause of a lot of the stress, or like?
It's actually, they say, the healthiest person in the relationship,
Oh.
but he gets pinpointed as the one that needs to go to therapy because he's the one that's trying to buck the system. Remember? Yeah. So
Was that this class that we did? We just did we just watched Maria, the Von Trapp thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
it.
So would Maria be the identified patient, right?
yes.
Because she is the healthy one who has like good standard. Okay.
So my definition says healthiest in family, not wanting to endure the dysfunctional rules, seen in family with high levels of communication deviance. So in a way, it's, everybody sees this person as, oh, you're the one that's messed up. You need to go to counseling. But really, they're the ones that are like, no, this system is messed up and I'm trying to fix it.
Right. Okay. That is perfect.
But see, I didn't look at Maria as part of the family. That was my problem. I don't see her as a family member.
That's true.
I look at the father and the children as a family, but I don't look at her as part of the family. So I don't know.
Is she cutting out to you guys, or is it my connection?
Might be yours. I heard her.
Okay, what did she say?
She said she didn't count Maria as part of the family. So that's why it was confusing, maybe. Which she isn't, which totally makes sense, Susan. She totally isn't. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, she tells us on the email that she is the identified patient, remember? She tells us, use Maria as the identified patient.
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Reading so many things are coming back to my memory.
Yeah, I do remember her saying that.
Yeah.
So who would you have chosen for the identified patient, Susan?
I would have chosen the dad because he was the one that showed the most behavior problems.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because he seemed to be carrying the burden of the family because he didn't want to be a part of the family since his wife had died. So that's what I thought. But then
Then we remember the email.
yeah, then I remember, okay, I remember her saying that now.
Yeah. Okay, so she goes over boundaries. So she talks about there's like three types of families, or three types of boundaries, I mean. There's the open boundaries, so people have boundaries but are flexible. So they're flexible to change, or like different people coming in or out or whatever. There's the random boundary, which is like almost no boundaries. So it's hard to determine who's like a part of the family, who isn't, because it's so, no, wait. It says family and members aren't really defined. So it's like random. The roles aren't really defined. This is what she said. You guys probably have something different. Then she talks about closed families, and these family members are meshed. So it's hard to see where one person stops and one person begins. There's no individual identities.
That's where they're all too close together, right? No outsiders and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Oh, so random, she said children can feel like a lack of roles, a lack of caring. I don't know if you have more input on any of those, if any of you do.
It says with closed, they have little interaction with that outside world.
Okay. Okay, then she talked about the perverse triangle. Melanie, she didn't talk about like the triangle, you know, us and God, but she talked about the perverse triangle.
Reversed?
Yeah,
Why don't I?
the unhealthy triangle. So it's
Okay.
like including the third party that isn't helpful. So let's say you and your husband are having an argument and you bring a child in to take sides, or you just bring a child in to evolve them because
You have
you're trying to diffuse the tension, but it actually makes the problem harder to solve. So if, for example, if you use God, I don't know if I forget if it's this class or not, but like sometimes even though people think the triangle with God can be totally great, sometimes people can totally misuse that and can totally just ruin the whole entire communication system because they're only relying on God and not with each other. And that becomes like a reverse triangle because we're using the third party in an unhelpful and unhealthy way.
Now, are you saying reverse with an R?
No,
Reverse
perverse. Perverse. Perverse.
Is that the same as the divine triangle? Is that what?
Where is the information on the perverse triangle?
I don't know. She didn't say. It was just on her study guide. Maybe we can put that in the questions board.
I think it's probably on that, the extra readings. Remember how there was a whole thing on triangles? And I read that and it was like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
After the first few pages is starting to
glaze over.
I mean, I don't remember really ever learning about this, but it makes sense to me that, I mean, I've seen it in my own personal family where my dad's brought one of us in because he wanted one of us to take sides or something, you know, and it diffuses the tension, but nothing gets solved then. It's like you're just involving somebody else that doesn't need to be involved and you're going around the real issue. Then, so she only has 3 more things, and she talks about the article on young men's co-creative identity.
Oh,
She
darn.
said that we just need to look back over that and to really focus on the I and me part of it. She didn't really give much more on that. I totally
She
forget.
also said to focus on symbolic interactionism in that
You're right.
article too, I think.
I wonder what that means.
He talks also about the article on deinstitutionalization of American marriages. And she said really just like, what did they find in that article? So that's really all she said. Probably like, I wouldn't say statistics, but more so like the general findings.
Yeah.
She put in there addiction cycle, but Erica, did she take that out? I forget.
I think she says that it was taken out and that we'll learn about it like after the week we take our test, but I don't remember.
Okay. And then the very last thing that she said was, and you'll hear her say it, but she just said, when you're answering the questions on the test, use a theory to back up your answer. Don't go through it and be like, you know, from this perspective of the gospel, I think this. He's like, I don't want to know what your opinion is with the gospel or this, which is great, but like this is meant to be theories. So answer the questions with the theories that we've learned. Look through the lens of the theory is what she says. And then look through past quizzes because some of the questions on there are the same as past quizzes.
Oh, that would be nice. Because last time there wasn't any.
I know. She told us to do it, and I was like looking, and I didn't recognize any, and I was like, oh.
I know.
So did we have our last test lesson 6?
This
Or
one
what?
is 7, 8, and 9. I mean, these are just the 3.
Oh, 7, 8, 9. This is what it is.
So
Okay.
it's those 3. It's family systems theories, structural functionalism, and symbolic interaction.
Perfect.
I think that's it.
Yeah. So that's all she had in her study guide. I don't know if either any of you have any questions on the actual exam 2 study guide that she originally.
It talks about dynamics of alcoholic addicted families and their various roles. Hey, Jensen, please be quiet, honey. They can hear you. Do you guys know anything about what she's asking or what they're asking on that one?
So from what it made it sound like, she almost made it sound just like we're not going over the addiction type of anything.
Okay.
Because maybe we're going to be covering that the next week and it won't be on the test. She said, like, when she approached the addiction cycle, she said she's taking that out of the test.
Oh. I didn't think you got to choose what was on there and what wasn't. I thought it was like, this is what BYU posts and this is what you got to do. That's nice.
Yeah. I don't know. So.
Because I wrote on my study guide, I hadn't written anything yet, but I wrote page 151. And it talks about on page 151 about dysfunctional families, particularly alcoholic families. And then it kind of goes over, the enabler, the codependent. So that is in the family systems theory. So we might need to know that.
You're right. But we haven't read about that yet, right?
Yeah,
We have.
Yeah, we have on page 151. So just check it out in case there's something on there you guys. What?
Oh, you're right. You're right. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
That's the only thing that I could find for that part of the study guide was that little paragraph. And I'm like, well,
okay.
A couple paragraphs, but anyways.
On the exams 2 study guides, it says communication dynamics. Was that the open, closed? No, those are dynamics.
Where do you see that one? First page or second?
Second. Very last one.
Yeah, I just wrote it's the secrets create superficial communication. That's to trigger me to go read through that, but that's basically what I think it's about.
Right. Oh, okay. Oh, perfect.
What about you guys? Is that what you kind of got for that, Erica?
Yeah, that's what I had is like stuff from like the student video presentations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys enjoy? I really enjoyed that therapy session that they let us watch about the family. I was like, oh, that is so cool.
Well, it's interesting. What I think, right? It was this class, the family therapy session, right?
Yeah, it wasn't this week. It was like, I don't know if it was the first week or the second week. I mean, if it was symbolic interaction, but I'm trying to remember what it was about, but I really liked it. It was on secrets. And it was about.
You're right.
Well, you're talking about the young man that his dad had died when he was just born.
Yes. I thought that was fascinating how she got to that answer from like the very beginning. I was like, I have no idea where they're going with this, but it was like, wow, that's amazing that she was able to pull that out.
Yeah. Unreal. No, I think it's interesting because it starts to put things into perspective, how these things start to like apply and work, because sometimes I see these theories or these types of like communication dynamics, or there's different structures in the family stuff, and I'm always kind of like, I don't know if I can visually like see it because I'm such a visual learner. I don't know. But anyways, okay, that's the only questions I had. I didn't know if anyone had any.
And so we're supposed to post 2 more times on the study guide, right? Or the study board. So we're supposed to ask questions and answer questions?
Yeah, I guess. I just posted a question on there about equifinality.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I hope someone will know a better definition.
Okay. Okay.
So, And then I just need to post this on the discussion board.
We're supposed to just, yeah, we're supposed to, wait.
Post.
We're supposed to have 2 posts.
Mhm.
But I'm supposed to post this recording, right?
Supposed to, yeah, put a link and the 4 of our names.
For your names. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I will definitely do that.